You never trust a person whose favorite book is Catcher in the Rye.
Welcome to South Jersey Girls. I'm Klein.
I'm Jane Feld.
I'm Elyse Notarianni.
And I'm Marianne Aliardi.
And later today, we have an interview with author Ameenah Muhammad-Diggins. But first, I just want to put this on the record. It's about a month into 2021, and I've officially given up on my reading resolution.
That's sad.
It's not happening.
Well, do you not have a good book?
I mean, that's part of the problem. I'm sorry. Am I the only one who literally can't read? Not can't read, but you know.
No, I'm the total opposite. On our snow day the other day, I read 350 pages of the last Harry Potter book.
Oh my God.
What?
What time of day was it?
All day.
Why does that matter?
Because I'm curious how you fit that into your life.
You situate yourself on the couch and you just don't move.
I can't even remember the last time that I just had a day that I could lay on a couch and read a book.
I could do that now that my kids aren't here, but I just don't. I don't know why.
And that is why I don't read.
Klein now is about to blame me for something else in her life.
Tell me what else it would be.
I thought that
You don't have a good book. Actually, I will say all these Harry Potter books I have, Marianne gave me.
People always are like, I used to read all the Harry Potter books when I was a kid. And I'm just like, oh.
You didn't read the Harry Potter books?
I read the fourth one.
That's random.
The movies came out. 3 of them came out. The fourth one was coming out. I was like, I want to read at least one before the movie comes out. So I read the fourth one. I bought the fifth one and then it disappeared like magic.
That's funny, Klein. I get that.
Thanks.
I'm about to say something very controversial, but I actually, when you guys were in elementary school, I went to your principal and I asked if he would reconsider the summer reading projects because I believed it was making you hate reading.
Are you serious?
And I stand by that because you were forced to read like 8 books over the course of a summer.
I do think and I read them all in the week before school started.
Of course you did. That's what Ravi does. So I have a good thing that happened because I used to read to my children in bed. But anyway, now that my middle one, Lee, likes me to read with him when he's doing his reading for school. So that makes me have a time that I need to read.
That's a good way to read.
Did you ever read those Magic Treehouse books?
I don't know.
I did.
Oh boy. Yeah.
With
they were big in our house.
The only book I've ever read in one sitting was a Magic Treehouse book. And it was amazing. And I stayed until like 2 a.m. What?
It wasn't a big book.
I was like 9.
Oh,
I was say 9.
What? Did you just imagine me as like a 21-year-old?
No.
Book?
No, even when you were 9, I don't think it would have taken you a really long time. I don't think.
Well, I started reading it at like 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, I need to make that clear that I did it. It didn't take me like 24 hours to finish a Magic Treehouse book.
It
would be okay if it did.
Yeah. Yes.
Apparently not.
No, the only book I've ever read in one day was the second Twilight book, and I was so into it. But I recently re-listened to all of them on audiobook because like any older books like that, I like to listen to just to pass time. And they're horrific books. They're like amazing dumpster fires of literature, and I had so much fun. I want to start a book club where we all get together and we read the books that we were obsessed with in high school and then talk about how problematic and awful they were. That's all I want to do.
I started rereading some of the S.E. Hinton books that I love so much, like The Outsiders, and I couldn't read them. And I felt sad about that because I can certainly watch that movie 100 times.
What's The Outsiders?
It's the kids read it in school right now. It became an 80s movie with all of the 80s Brat Pack, like Matt Dillon and
okay.
Yeah, it's a good story. The only book I remember reading in one sitting is Catcher in the Rye. The only time in my teenage life that I was not allowed to go out, I was grounded for some reason, happened one time. And in that one time, I was in my room and I read Catcher in the Rye.
Actually, Marianne, Klein and I had a whole conversation about you the other day, and we need you to clear something up.
That may or may not have been the reason that we're having this conversation right now.
Don't talk to Klein about me, please. Because whatever she said, it's
okay.
not.
You know what's
Let's
funny?
go ahead. Let's
I actually make
tape.
I make Klein uncomfortable because I say nice things about you, and she's like, "Please,
thank you." I appreciate that, Elyse. Thank you. Someone has to.
This might change right now.
Answer with a one-word answer to this, okay?
Is Catcher in the Rye your favorite book?
One-word answer.
No. Why did I think that?
Elyse, what did I say her favorite book was?
Oh, I don't remember.
Saturday. Oh, come on.
It was something I hadn't heard of. Is it like, does it have red in the title?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
The red something.
I know that one.
The Red Tent. I said it was the Red Tent. Mom, what's your favorite book?
The Red Tent.
Thank
But
you.
Why did I think it was
Elyse,
Catcher in the Rye?
because number 2 would be Catcher in the Rye. You've probably been in my presence where I've been like, I love that book.
Probably.
I don't care about that. I just care about the fact that you were sitting there telling me all the lies I talk about, and I know your favorite book.
Yeah, because I've said it many times. No, Elyse, I know why you said that. You watched all the TV episodes, and I was at Wheaton where the woman made a bracelet with my favorite book and thought it was Catcher in the Rye. And so I had to
Yes.
say, oh, my favorite book is Catcher in the Rye, so that the bracelet she gave me would be appropriate.
Yes, and I have a hard and fast rule that you never trust a person or date a guy, especially whose favorite book is Catcher in the Rye.
I feel the same way.
Ooh.
That book is so problematic.
I totally understand what she means.
What?
It's not even that
Guys
the
more
book-
than girls.
I was gonna say it's not that the book's problematic because like it is, but it's also that like there's a kind of guy who reads that book and is like, yeah, I'm him. Like,
Yeah, and it's also people who think they're really really into literature and they're really deep, but they're not actually. Like I remember I had a guy in high school walk up to me and I was reading the book for the second time because I was like, I don't get this. Maybe I should read it again. And he was like, "Do you understand that book?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "But like, do you really understand it?" And I was like, "I'm an AP English,
Oh.
Yeah.
so yeah, I really understand it." And he's like, "I don't know that you do, or else you'd appreciate it so much more." But some
Oh.
people don't have the depth. And I was like, "Okay."
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Yeah.
ew.
I don't think I necessarily loved Holden as much as I loved what the book was about and the fact that this was being talked about. You have to remember, I was reading it in 1980. Any teenage angst was not talked about.
Well, how about Audible books? When I had a commute, I would get Audible books for my car ride because you're really into the book, even though you're stuck in all this traffic.
I also get all my audiobooks to the library. The library is everything. I had no idea the amount of
Jeez.
things you can get there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
Plug for Burlington County Library. They have all kinds of stuff that is
Mhm.
just unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm obsessed
Library.
with the Cherry Hill Library. That's
Me
where I
too.
was.
Shout
the
out
time I
to
left
Cherry
the
Hill
apartment.
Library. Woo.
There you go. All the South Jersey libraries are wonderful.
Yes,
Yes, they are.
that's just
But
the
you
one
know-
that was near my house.
We always listen to books on family trips because it keeps the kids from fighting. We've done Trevor Noah. We're doing Obama. I guess that's the way
That's
to put it.
exactly how I pictured your family car rides. I don't know when I ever thought about this, but if I did, it would be you guys listening to Barack Obama on audiobook.
You know what's cool, right? You know what's cool about Audible when the person who wrote the book is reading it?
Yes.
That makes it even better because you feel like they're just
Yeah.
talking to you. I don't read any fiction. I feel like, what's the point of reading this if
I
it's not
agree.
true?
I
Do
agree.
you?
You just read
Yeah.
the Harry Potter books.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's about it.
Caught.
Is like two series from like when you're a kid that you're like, this is just kind of nice, and there's a
The
pandemic going on.
nostalgia
So
effect.
yeah.
Wow.
But otherwise, I do not read fiction.
I don't think I've read enough in my lifetime to choose a genre that I like the most, which is so sad. But
But
is
even just based
accurate.
on what you have read?
No, because based on what I have read, I've mostly read like memoirs and stuff like that. But
Which
I
clearly you don't like.
Right. But I do. Like I can't put them down once I get into the middle of them, but it takes me a really long time to get into them. And sometimes I just don't.
I'm listening to a podcast that is about a book where these people read a book that their dad read. It's called My Dad Wrote a Porno.
It's
Okay,
one
and
book.
it's a porno?
Multiple books. Yes. It's
And is it
multiple books.
published?
Yes. You can buy it on Amazon.
Oh, it's like a series?
It's a series.
Oh my
yeah.
God. That's hilarious.
I didn't know that. Like, I don't even, I can't figure it out. I can guess, but a porno book, like I've
Like
never heard of
erotic
that.
fiction.
Yeah.
Yes, it's written as if he has never had sex in his entire life. It is the worst thing you've ever heard in your life.
Wait, did you read it?
This is hilarious.
No, I'm listening to his son.
Oh, they
to
read
us.
it on the podcast?
They sure do.
Got
And
it.
then critique it.
Uh-huh.
Well, I didn't expect our conversation on the podcast today to devolve into this, but
There you go.
really
I mean, we could talk about 50 Shades of Grey.
You want to have that conversation with me, Klein?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we could talk about the book. We don't have to talk about like
I
the
tried to read
details of
that,
the book.
and I didn't even make it to the part people read it for. I was like, this is just the worst thing that I've ever read.
I had that problem too, and it made me feel like, can't I just enjoy smut? But I need it to be well written smut.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah.
Where?
I
What?
could-
Where?
The Story of O. Have you ever heard of that? It
I
was
don't know.
French.
Wait, you
But is
have
it-
like recommendations?
Clearly, she does.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up. Is that that's fiction?
Yeah, and it was written by anonymous, and so it was like the big parlor talk who wrote it. It's
So is it
very
old?
racy. Yes.
Did you just say the same exact thing I said at the
said
same
it
exact
first.
time?
Thank
No,
you
you
very
said it at the
much.
same exact time I said it. I just
No.
want that for the record. Thank you.
Guys, I'm gonna make an SJ Mag podcast bingo card, and you two
Possibly.
saying something at the same time is
Oh.
gonna be on it. Also, me talking about
Good.
TikTok is gonna be on it.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure.
It sounds like a drinking game if I've ever heard one.
That too.
Cheers.
People would be wasted if it was the times Klein acts just like her mother.
And other news, the other stuff that I read are Wuthering Heights. You know, I got the highbrow stuff, and then I've
That's
got the fill in the
Klein's
blank.
favorite book, yes?
Is it?
No,
Oh, no, I
it's
thought
not.
it was.
That's cool. I know your favorite book. You don't know mine.
What is it?
What is
Klein?
yours?
Little Women.
Oh,
I apparently have to give my Little Women book back to my mother.
because it's mine. From my Aunt Joan and Uncle Don, who both have passed inside the book. It's saying, you have little women. We hope this book brings all your girls happiness. And Klein took it, and it's in her house.
I didn't take it. I was reading it, and you said
Oh.
I could take it with me.
Okay, I
So
don't remember that happening.
yeah.
But all right, so I'm curious if you read on a
Oh,
device
tablet.
or if you read a book.
I prefer a book, but a lot of the library books I get are on my Kindle.
I cannot read on a device. I mean, it's bad enough I can barely read as it is, but if you take away the fact that I'm holding something, it's
What do you mean you can barely read as it is?
like, at least with the book, if it's sitting in front of me, I'll like either remember it or
Yeah.
but if it's on a tablet, I would definitely forget I was reading it altogether.
So interesting that you forget that you're reading a book. How
I
does
do.
that happen?
That's interesting.
I got stuff to do.
I still stand by. I just think you need to get better books that make you want to.
It's possible.
I'm here this week with Ameenah Muhammad-Diggins. She is an author and influencer, and she is also on our selection committee this year for the Women of Excellence Awards. Ameenah, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Happy to be here.
So great to have you. So can we first talk about your children's book, Bashira and the Amazing Bean Pie? Can you tell me a little bit about how you decided to make a children's book of all things?
Yeah, so originally I never thought of myself as a writer. My mom always wanted to be a writer, and she passed in 2009. And it was something that I wanted to fulfill for her. And I knew that she would be really proud of me if I published a book. So initially it was to kind of honor her. And so the story of Bashir and the Amazing Bean Pie is also to kind of, looks at my roots as an African-American Muslim growing up in Philadelphia. And the pastry that is known within our community is the bean pie. And not a lot of people have heard of it outside of the community, but I thought it would be nice to kind of center a book around food, because everyone loves food.
Sure, very true.
So it centers around food and family and the Islamic holiday of Eid.
What kind of feedback were you getting when that was first put out?
Initially I thought it was just going to be a really great book. I thought it was something, because my family we co-owned a bean pie factory growing up. So I knew it was special to me, but I didn't know that it would also be received within our community and outside of our community, to see people even act like, oh, great, it was a recipe at the back of the books. So people were making the pie and sending pictures. And so it was really cool. It was really cool to see the response.
And then you also recently, I think 2 years ago-ish, you turned the book into a play that was put on at the Please Touch Museum. What was that process like?
Yeah, it was funny how you said 2 years, because 2020 was like a complete blur. And I was like, oh yeah, it was,
right.
it was 2 years ago.
That does count as a year. I don't know how I feel about that, but.
So yes, 2019. I collaborated with the Please Touch Museum and their theater department. It was part of their Muslim cultures from A to Z. So they did a year-long exhibit that had Muslim cultures from all over the world. And part of that exhibit was the play. So I co-wrote the play with the head of their theater department. We had about 115 shows.
That is awesome. How does Muslim representation in pretty much all aspects of life today? First of all, how does it compare to what you saw when you were growing up?
It was virtually non-existent. So, and even in history books, they referred to Islam as Mohammedan, and it was completely they didn't ask anybody any questions. So it was one of those things where, I was usually probably like one or two other Muslims in my school. But I think the importance of art allows people to interact and learn and just be be part of the community. I think one of the most important things that we can do as people who are not the either dominant religion or dominant race or whatever it is to interact with everyone and for us to get to know each other. And you can't hate who if it's somebody that and you break bread with and you learn about each other. I think that it's important for us to get to know each other. So for doing the play with the Please Touch Museum was really, really important. I had people crying. The first time that we showed it, we had like a limited showing with theater, like with Please Touch Museum members. And we had people like crying, and these were like people who are not Muslim, and it was really heartwarming. And of course I cried too, because I'm a crier, but it was really cool.
I totally understand that. That's not surprising whatsoever at all. And yeah, speaking of interacting with people, you do have this awesome online community, especially on your Instagram page, whether you're posting products from your Houghton Muslim brand or you're posting motivational quotes that I am obsessed with, because it's all about being confident, owning your identity and running with it. What are you hoping to give people when you are posting that stuff?
Usually I'm choosing things that are going to speak to me too, because, we all need encouragement. We all need to feel uplifted. So most of the things that I post is because I also need that encouragement at the time. So it may seem as though I'm like, you can do it in YouTube, but I'm like, to me, you can do it. I mean, it's going to be okay. You can get through this. So yeah.
I saw, and I've been getting super into this. I've seen you post a few times, like some mantras that you have. And I was hoping you could maybe talk about that a little, because I'm very slowly being pulled into this, like, because it's easy to forget, like, the really basics. You can do this. You're worthy of this. Like, you should put yourself out there. And could you talk a little bit about how that helps you?
So for me, like my affirmations and mantras that I say in the morning and throughout the day, because I know what happened in 2020 was I got sad, like I think everybody at some point got really sad. And then when I get sad, I become unmotivated, and then I start to like negative self-talk. So, and it became like automatic, like nothing you do is right, or I hate myself. Like these are things that like a reboot, and it was like automatic going back to like a negative. I don't even know where it came from. But so for now, I have to intentionally say, I love myself, I forgive myself. And I also say, I have a flat stomach.
Just put it out into the universe.
Put it out there. So, but I love myself, I forgive myself are the top two things that I go to, so that whenever I am feeling, not so happy or whatever it is, instead of me going negative, I program myself to say, I love myself, I forgive myself. Even if I say, oh, I hate myself. Okay, no, I love myself, I forgive myself.
That's fantastic. I need to practice that. It's always good to have those reminders.
Yes.
And for what have you been up to I've been calling it quarantine. I guess it's more like, everyone's initiative to stay home. So how have you been keeping busy?
Yeah, so we have a party rental business here in South Jersey. And of course, in March, April, whenever everything shut down, 2020, the governor said, nobody's doing anything. So we didn't have any school contracts, no daycares, no home parties, no corporate events, nothing. So I had us like, I can't just like sit here and like, we got to do something. So I got the idea to start a inspirational brand for Muslim women. And that's where Houghton Muslim came from. It came from, knowing that everybody is going through this transition where we're either going to have to think of new ways to do business, or think of new ways to be healthy, or think of new ways to enjoy our families and our friends. So it came out of that need to pivot. So a lot of my products speak to, that you make dua. Dua is an Arabic word for prayer. So you make prayer and have determination, go forward, sis, things like that speak to that everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of people are going through a transition where they're going to have to figure out a new way of doing things. So that's where the brand came from.
And do you have any advice for people who maybe want to dive into writing?
Just start writing, and also look out for like mentors. There's a lot of like writing, I don't want to call them schools, but like writing academies, and just read a lot. Just seeing how picture books or autobiographies, whatever genre you're writing about, just make sure that you're reading that particular drawing genre so you know what is good and how things flow and stuff like that, and just use your own voice and go for it. That's another thing. Just go for it.
Yeah. I feel like that's the hardest step out of all of those. How did you start the process of writing your book?
It was coupled with marketing and like passion. So whenever you're writing something, whenever you're producing anything, you have to look at, is this going to be marketable? I did like a research online for a children's book about what I was writing about, and there weren't any books about the topic. And also, is it popular? And I knew that this was something that was a popular thing within our community, and also interesting. It's also interesting to people who don't know, like, it'd be the curiosity of it.
Okay. And then final question, do you have any book recommendations of either things you've read right now, or maybe do you have like an all-time favorite book aside from Bashira and The Amazing Bean Pie? Because obviously that's top of the list, but maybe right underneath of that one.
So right underneath that one. So my favorite book growing up was A Snowy Day.
Okay.
By Ezra Jack Keats, and then also Josephine's, I forgot the name of it was a Reading Rainbow book. That's what I remember. Josephine's Imagination. So I'm dating myself with the whole Reading Rainbow thing, but so it was called Josephine's Imagination, and it was a book about Haiti and a little girl, her imagination turning her broom into a doll. Those are my two favorite books of all time. So I would have to go with those two.
Great. We're all about the book recommendations now. I'm trying to read more this year. It's not going well so far. Yeah. So I'll add those to my list. But thank you so much, Ameenah, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks again to Ameenah for that interview. If you want to learn more about our 2021 Women of Excellence Awards, you can find all of that information and the page to submit nominations at sjmagazine.net. Thanks again for listening this week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have new episodes every Tuesday. We'll see you next week. Bye.